I am Sabrina Zainal and this is Nightline. The headlines. Overseas-born babies of Malaysian mothers entitled for citizenship. And Health Minister orders MySejahtera team to resolve digital certificate issue within a week. Good morning. The Kuala Lumpur High Court, in a landmark decision on Thursday, declared that children born overseas to Malaysian mothers who are married to foreigners are entitled to be citizens of Malaysia. Counsel Datuk Dr. Gurdil Singh Nijar said Judge Datuk Akhtar Tahir in his judgment ruled that the word father must be read to include mothers and that their children are entitled to citizenship by operation of law. According to Dr. Gurdial, the judge came to this verdict after a harmonious reading of several articles in the federal constitution. He also made an order that all relevant authorities must issue relevant documents such as identity cards to the children, adding that the judge did not make any order as to costs as the case involved public interest. The judge added that the case does not seek to change policy, but to apply the existing law to find a remedy for the grievance of the plaintiffs. The court made the ruling via online proceedings after allowing a legal suit filed by the Association of Family Support and Welfare Selangor and Kuala Lumpur, or Family Frontiers, and 6 Malaysian women who are married to foreigners for their overseas-born children to have the right to become Malaysian citizens. Family Frontiers President Suri Kempe in a statement said they were thankful for the outcome and it was a huge relief for affected mothers as the judgment applied not just to the mothers directly involved in the case but to all Malaysian mothers who are similarly affected. She said such judgment recognized Malaysian women's equality and marks one step forward to a more egalitarian and just Malaysia. The MySejahtera app team has been given 1 week to sort out all issues, including on the issuance of the COVID-19 digital vaccination certificates, which is a concern among the people. Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said for the time being, those who have yet to get their digital certificates on the app upon completion of their inoculation can use the physical vaccination cards issued at the vaccination centres.
Saya telah mengarahkan pasukan MySejahtera untuk selesaikannya dengan segera, ya. Termasuk masalah tidak ada sijil digital ini yang menjadi kebimbangan ramai yang dah lengkap tetapi masih lagi belum dapat sijil digital mereka dalam MySejahtera. Saya telah memberi mereka tempoh masa seminggu untuk selesaikan ini semua, ya, supaya dapat diberikan sijil digital. Buat waktu sementara saya benarkan supaya kad physical vaksin dapat digunakan.
Speaking in a press conference in Putrajaya on Thursday, Khairi added those in Selangor who were vaccinated through the SelfVax program can use the certificate in the MySelangkah app until they receive their certificate on MySejahtera. Commenting on COVID-19 related deaths in the country, Khairi said only 0.009% or 90 people in 1 million vaccinated individuals have died after getting both vaccine doses. Of those who died, 81% of the patients had comorbidities, in which 80% of them were over the age of 60.
Adalah, of course, there will be breakthrough deaths dan ini berlaku di seluruh dunia. But you are better off with the vaccine than without the vaccine. Yeah. So the breakthrough amongst those who are fully vaccinated was the breakthrough mortality was 0.009%. So get vaccinated, or don't doubt that the vaccination can help you.
On Sarawak's recent high COVID-19 numbers, Khairi said his ministry has not ruled out that the waning effect of vaccines over time may be the reason for the sudden spike, which have also occurred in other countries. The ministry is also studying if it needs to implement booster shots to counter the situation. In the meantime, Kyrie said in an effort to increase transparency in data sharing, the Health Ministry has launched a new COVID-19 website at covidnow.moh.gov.my, which can be accessed starting Thursday for more transparent daily data sharing. Describing the website as a way to lift the veil of secrecy in statistics, he said the new portal will provide the main data that are more accessible and easily understood by the general public.
Seiring dengan hasrat saya untuk lebih telus dalam perkongsian maklumat dan untuk kita lift the veil of secrecy around data and statistics, KKM akan melancarkan laman web baru iaitu COVID Now, dan anda boleh mula layarinya bermula jam 6 petang hari ini di https covidnow.moh.gov.my, dan data harian terkini akan tersedia di COVID Now selepas jam 12 setiap malam. Updated.
The move in setting up the website was in accordance with Kyrie's earlier statement on September 1st, which he vowed to improve data transparency in COVID-19 management and quash previous accusations that the ministry was being secretive with the data that it released to the public. Domestic tourists from all over the country, with the exception of those residing in areas placed under the Enhanced Movement Control Order, EMCO, are allowed to visit Langkawi from next Thursday. However, Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister Dr. Sri Nancy Shukri said visitors would have to apply for a police permit before their departure and show the necessary documents such as flight tickets, ferry tickets or hotel reservation receipts as proof.
Bermula 16 September 2021, Langkawi boleh mula dikunjungi pelancong domestik yang memenuhi kriteria SOP dari seluruh negara. Apabila saya katakan seluruh negara, tak kira dari mana saja di Malaysia ini, sama ada dia masih di fasa 1 ataupun apa juga fasa, mereka boleh pergi ke Langkawi.
Datuk Sri Nancy also said those travelling by road would need to use the services of a travel agency, at least for transport from the starting destination to the ferry jetty to Langkawi, while tourists who start off their journey from Kedah and Perlis, as well as those travelling by air, are not required to engage the services of a travel agency. Other standard operating procedures SOP requirements set for the travel to Langkawi was that visitors must have completed both doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. No age limit has been set, and insurance coverage and COVID-19 screening are also not mandatory. Datuk Sri Nancy added that the types of holiday allowed were day trips, overnight stays with bookings, and holiday package tours made through licensed travel companies registered with her ministry. Langkawi was selected as the first destination under the government's tourism bubble program. Among the activities that are allowed include beach activities, water sport, snorkeling, scuba diving, eco-geo travel activities, and theme parks. The ministry will closely monitor the implementation of the Langkawi tourism bubble and is targeting 420,000 visitors from this month until the end of the year. The government is looking at further revising down the price of COVID-19 self-test kits by end of this year to make them more accessible to the public. Finance Minister Datuk Sri Tengku Abdul Aziz said the Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry and Health Ministry are looking into the matter.
Moreover, in making the self-test kits accessible to everyone, the Minister or the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs, as well as the Ministry of Health, have set the price ceiling for these kits to be below 20 ringgit. Both ministries are looking at further revising down the prices by end of this year.
In a special address during the virtually held National Recovery Summit on Thursday, he also said the Health Ministry had recognized the COVID-19 antigen rapid test kits to expand testing efforts. To date, the Medical Device Authority under the ministry had given conditional approval to 18 self-test kits, which can be bought in pharmacies nationwide. The retail price cap for the self-test kits, which use saliva or nasal swab samples, have been set at 19 ringgit 90 sen per unit, while the wholesale ceiling price was fixed 16 ringgit per unit, effective September 5th. Datuk Sri Tengku Zafrul also revealed that several other measures are also in the pipeline for implementation under the National Recovery Plan (NRP), including establishing a dedicated COVID-19 call center, apart from factoring in booster shots or multi-year vaccination programs into public healthcare protocols. Aside from this, whole genome sequencing is being undertaken by the Institute of Medical Research to better detect the presence and spread of new variants, as well as expanding technology and mobile data usage to enhance contact tracing.
Malaysia, one of the first ASEAN nations to initiate the equity crowdfunding industry. How is the sector coping with the COVID-19 pandemic? With the nation heading towards an endemic, what does the future hold for equity crowdfunding? What type of support is required for its growth? Money Matters speaks to the Registered Digital Markets Association of Malaysia, Saturday 5 p.m, only on TV3.
Malaysia's halal industry plays a key role in the National Recovery Plan (NRP) as the industry's recovery is paramount to the resilience of the overall Muslim-majority national economy. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the NRP, which comprised 4 progressive phases, is a dynamic plan that will be updated and improved upon with the aim of achieving full resumption of economic activities by year-end. In a keynote address read by International Trade and Industry Minister Datuk Sri Muhammad Azmin Ali during the virtually held World Halal Business Conference 2021 WHBC 2021 on Thursday, the Prime Minister also said that since last year, the nation has been grappling to achieve a balance between the people's safety and ensuring that the economy remains resilient.
Malaysia is gradually picking ourselves up and recovering from this pandemic that has adversely impacted our society at large. We are committing ourselves to implementing the National Recovery Plan under the spirit of Keluarga Malaysia. Malaysia's halal industry is a key feature of the NRP, with the recovery of the industry being paramount to the resilience of the overall Muslim-majority national economy.
Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri added, the lockdowns have severely hampered the operations of many businesses, disrupting supply chains and threatening the survival of businesses, particularly the small and medium enterprises, and have resulted in a significant number of job losses. However, he noted that the Fourth Industrial Revolution, IR 4.0, has transformed the business landscape, which simultaneously presented halal industry stakeholders with various possibilities in raising industrial capacity, driving increased productivity and enhancing efficiency. He also emphasized that the adoption of halal standards should be viewed as a value proposition instead of barriers, and ventured into new sources of economic growth in the halal industry, as it served as a catalyst for recovery in the post-pandemic global economy. The country's capital market had recovered significantly in August, with foreign funds turning net buyers for the first time since June 2019, with a net inflow of 1.1 billion ringgit. Advisory Council Chair of Economic Club of Kuala Lumpur, Tan Sri Abdul Wahid Omar, said the benchmark FBM KLCI also rose 7.1% month-on-month to end at 1,601 points.
The improved sentiments were partly supported by resilient corporate profits for the second quarter of 2021, which increased by 113% year-on-year and 3% quarter-on-quarter. Similar positive sentiments were observed in the Malaysian bond market, with foreign holding increasing by 6.6 billion ringgit in August 2021.
He was speaking at the one-day National Recovery Summit organized by KSI Strategic Institute for Asia Pacific. Tan Sri Wahid, who is also the Bursa Malaysia chairman, added that with the business-like approach of the government, business community and the public, the Malaysian economy is expected to rebound and strengthen further. Largest heroin syndicate busted in Pulau Penang. This and more when we return. Welcome back. Former Prime Minister Datuk Sri Muhammad Najib Tun Razak and his son, Datuk Muhammad Nazifuddin, have failed in their appeal to quash the Kuala Lumpur High Court's decision, compelling them to settle 1.69 billion ringgit and 37.6 million ringgit in unpaid taxes and penalties, respectively. A three-member Court of Appeal bench in the proceedings conducted via Zoom on Thursday dismissed the father and son's bid on grounds that their appeal had no merit. In the unanimous decision, Dato' Abdul Karim Abdul Jalil, who led the bench, said the High Court judge did not make an error in the decision on the summary judgment. The other judges who presided were Dato' Wazir Alam Maidin Mira and Dato' Supang Lian. The appellants were also ordered to pay 10,000 ringgit in costs to the respondent for each appeal. The court, however, allowed an application by lawyer Tan Sri Muhammad Shafi'i Abdullah, who represented both appellants, for an interim stay of the effect of the decision, as they will be appealing against the decision at the federal court. Last year, the High Court ordered the former Prime Minister and his son to settle the tax arrears after allowing the Inland Revenue Board IRB's application for a summary judgment to be entered against them to recover taxes they purportedly owed the board for the period between 2011 and 2017. On February 4th, the IRB issued bankruptcy notices against the Pekan Member of Parliament and his son following their failure to pay the sums. Police smashed a heroin-based and heroin trafficking syndicate following raids in Pulau Penang, Kedah and Perak and seized drugs worth 34.1 million ringgit. Authorities also arrested 11 men aged between 22 and 58 during the raids last Friday. Federal Narcotics Criminal Investigation Department Director Dato' Razaruddin Hussein said among those nabbed was the 42-year-old mastermind who also runs a catering business and was picked up in Ipoh, Perak. He also said 367.7 kilograms of heroin base and heroin number 3 were being loaded onto a trailer by 2 men when police conducted a raid in the Bukit Minyak industrial area in Pulau Penang. The men had placed boxes of jeans on top of the drugs to avoid detection. It was believed that the syndicate had been active since about 18 months ago, and the drugs had just arrived from a neighboring country before being transported to the state. The seizure is the biggest involving heroin base for this year, and authorities are on the hunt for the remaining syndicate members. Besides the drugs, police also seized 7 vehicles worth nearly 1 million ringgit, including the trailer, as well as jewelry and cash amounting to over 34,000 ringgit. Police also seized cash amounting to nearly 10 million ringgit in 20 separate bank accounts, including 6 million ringgit in the mastermind's account alone. All the suspects are currently under remand until Friday to facilitate investigations under the Dangerous Drugs Act. Meanwhile, in Johor, police have crippled a syndicate which was behind a mobile phone package scam, which caused telecommunications companies to suffer over 8.6 million ringgit in losses. State Police Chief Dato' Ayub Khan Maidin Piche said 14 members of the syndicate, including mule account holders, were arrested in a series of raids around Iskandar Putri last Wednesday. The syndicate, which had been active since early last year, used mule accounts to register for online mobile phone packages using false documents like payslips and employers' letters to deceive the telcos before making payments using the credit cards of other individuals. In Kedah, a chief executive officer and 3 senior officers of a government-linked company, GLC, were remanded for 4 days from Thursday over allegations of abuse of power and position. Magistrate Court Assistant Registrar Wan Nur Fazilah Wan Ibrahim issued the remand order to assist Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC investigation into the case, which involved about 2.2 million ringgit in funds between 2016 and 2019. It was alleged that the 4 suspects, aged between 49 and 58, had channeled the GLC's funds to 2 other companies in which they had interests in. They were arrested at the state MACC office on Wednesday after their statements were recorded. Elsewhere in Perak, a businessman who was charged in the Ipoh Magistrates Court last January with causing grievous hurt to a security guard was brought to court again on Thursday and slapped with an amended charge for murder. This after police reclassified the case as murder following the death of the victim, 64-year-old S. Tava Sagayam, last month after he was attacked while on duty at the swimming pool of a condominium at Jalan CM Yusuf in December last year. No plea was recorded from 33-year-old Ahmad Nur Azhar Muhammad after the amended charge was read out to him before Magistrate Nur Azrin Liana Muhammad Darus, who set October 18th for mention. Prior to this, the accused was charged with voluntarily causing hurt on provocation. However, with the amended charge, he now faces the death penalty if convicted. Italy police raid COVID protesters planning violence. The details and more up next. We're back with the foreign front. In Italy, police are investigating 8 people for incitement to crime as anti-vaccine campaigners are calling for armed attacks during planned anti-government rallies in Rome this weekend. The 8 under probe were part of a group called the Warriors on the Telegram messaging app, which investigators suspect is being used to plan and encourage others to carry out attacks in various cities. Police have so far conducted searches in 6 Italian provinces, including Milan, Rome, and Venice. There was no immediate comment from anti-vaccine campaigners. The demonstrations scheduled in Italy's capital this weekend are against the government's Green Pass health documents that allow entry to many venues during the pandemic. The Green Pass is a digital or paper certificate that shows whether someone has received at least 1 COVID-19 vaccine dose, has tested negative, or has recently recovered from the virus. Moving on, the leader of Northern Ireland's biggest party on Thursday suspended cooperation with Dublin and warned he might collapse the province's devolved government in protest at a UK-EU protocol regulating post-Brexit trade. Democratic Unionist Party DUP leader Geoffrey Donaldson demanded significant and substantial changes to the Northern Ireland Protocol, under which London agreed to checks on goods crossing the Irish Sea as part of its drawn-out divorce from the European Union.
I say not as a threat, but as a matter of political reality, that our political institutions will not survive a failure to resolve the problems that the protocol has created. Neither will those institutions survive an indefinite standstill period, and therefore urgent action is required.
In the meantime, Britain has postponed indefinitely the start of many checks on goods going to Northern Ireland, which were due to be phased in after the UK left the EU's economic embrace at the end of 2020. The EU says it won't renegotiate the agreement and is calling for Britain to implement the deal that Prime Minister Boris Johnson agreed to. Now, at least 14 people have been killed in a fire at a makeshift hospital treating COVID-19 patients in North Macedonia. Local authorities were still investigating whether there were more victims, as it was not immediately clear how many people were being treated there at the time. The blaze occurred late Wednesday in the western city of Tetovo, where the facility was set up following a recent spike in infections in the region. The cause of the fire was not immediately known, but Prime Minister Zoran Zaev said in a Facebook post that the blaze followed an explosion at the site. With less than 30% of the country's population fully vaccinated, North Macedonia has seen a significant spike in infections and deaths since late August. The temporary facility was reportedly constructed last year to care for people made severely ill from the coronavirus. National shuttlers coaches rewarded for Olympic, Paralympic medal wins. Sports coming up next. Sports now. National men's doubles pair Arancha So Wuyik on Thursday received a windfall for their bronze medal triumph at the recent Tokyo 2020 Olympics, totaling 180,000 ringgit. The 2020 Olympics bronze medalists Cha and So received a reward of 120,000 ringgit from the Badminton Association of Malaysia, BAM, and another 60,000 ringgit from 100 Plus in a brief ceremony held at the Academy Badminton Malaysia in Bukit Kiara. The men's doubles coaching department, led by Flandi Limpele, also received 30,000 ringgit from BAM for the success. Tokyo Paralympics gold medalist Chia Lik Ho, meanwhile, will be handed a 200,000 ringgit incentive, while his coach, Datuk Rashid Sidek, will receive 50,000 ringgit. BAM President Tan Sri Muhammad Nurza Zakaria also announced that the National Badminton Governing Body will be looking into reviewing salaries and bonuses to the players and coaches quarterly, based on their performance and world rankings.
For example, if you are earning 15,000 now, if you are top 2 in the world, you soon get 30,000 a month. Just imagine, you know. So but we also maintain some status quo of some of the, because why? We just want to make sure that our players are all fighting for the top 10 bracket. We will basically, that includes their benefit, business class, and all those things.
Over in the United Kingdom, members of the Royal Southern Yacht Club and the Island Sailing Club recently held their annual Brambles cricket match between the clubs, which took place on the Bramble Bank sandbank in the middle of the Solent at low tide. Highlights of the unique event wraps up Nightline this time around. I'm Sabrina Zainal. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, stay safe.